2 women and 1 baby, Vera Grace. Ashlyn is her mum. It was her egg. She lives in America.
It was such an amazing gift that we were given.
Given by her sister-in-law, Rebecca, who lives in New Zealand.
It is a big thing, you can't deny that. I like to say no, it's not, but it is. You did right, it is a big thing.
And then there are the men, Rebecca's husband, James.
You brother bubbles.
And baby Vera's dad, Tim.
Oh, she's doing good.
It's a way we could help them have a family, and they wouldn't have been able to achieve that otherwise.
Not one of those things you think you're going to hear from your sister.
This is the moment of implantation.
I rang or Skyped them and I held the pregnancy test up and I said, I think I'm pregnant.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like growing a baby in somebody else's womb across the world in a worldwide pandemic. You just can't make these things up.
Ashlyn, an American, had to get a compassionate visa to come here. Then the couple had to stay in managed isolation. And that was the first time they saw their baby. And in September 2020, Vera Grace was born. And that should be the end of the story. Ash and Tim finally had their baby. But it wasn't theirs. Under New Zealand law, the Adoption Act of 1955, Rebecca and James were the legal parents.
That is kind of a kick in the pants, really. I know the laws are very old and they're in the process of looking at them.
But finally, it was time to say goodbye to the woman who brought Vera into the world.
How did these last kisses feel, Rebecca?
Good, a bit bittersweet.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming.
Gorgeous family. Well, Rebecca is now Tim and Ashlyn's surrogate for a second time.
The proposed laws are still in development, so the couple will have to go through the adoption process again. I caught up with Tim and Rebecca this week, one day before the baby was due to arrive.
I said at the beginning I would give them 2 babies and number 2 will be here tomorrow. And
wow.
Yeah, good timing, eh?
Tim, why are you having a second baby?
It was not going to be safe for my wife and I to try and carry a baby. So my sister was so lovely to offer to be a surrogate again. Our daughter Vera is 2.5. Becky carried her for us last time, of course. So we always wanted to have multiple children if possible, and Becky's making that possible.
And I drew the line at 2.
Yeah,
You drew the line at 2. There are no more after this?
Not from me.
we're also getting older, so we'd be more than happy with 2 healthy children.
Okay, yes. All right. So we're all going to settle on 2?
Yes.
Great, done deal. How smoothly did the transfer of the embryo go this time?
So I went over in March 22 to have a transfer, and that one unfortunately didn't take, so that was the 3rd transfer. And then I went back in September 22, and this is the result. So that one did take.
And how's the pregnancy been?
It's been good. It's for an almost geriatric pregnancy. It's been good. The last month I've really felt it, but that's, I think, just a bigger baby, being older, being on my feet probably too much, not being a lady of leisure.
You've been very tired.
I've been tired, but I think that's just pregnancy in your late 30s versus in my early 20s with my kids. So,
what makes you want to do this? It's a really big ask.
I'm a very big believer in, doing unto others as you would have them do to you. And also, I've grown up with 2 siblings who I'm very close to, and as a result, our families are close and our kids are all close. And I want that for them as well, and I want that for Vera, that she'll have a sibling to love on, and then they'll have their wee family as well. Because family's amazing, and it's something that they can. Yeah, it's for them, means they get to have their own family.
What is it like as a family? I mean, Tim, what is it like? You're close to your sister, and now your sister has helped you with your first child. What does that do for the family dynamic?
You feel a little guilty, honestly.
Really?
Because of what she has to go through. But you feel just like sort of a overwhelming thankfulness, but you don't know how to thank her other than just saying thank you, and whatever you need, let us know. The funny thing, you said it's a big ask. She actually offered before we even thought about asking, before the whole process started. So it's crazy. Like we fought like cats and dogs as teenagers, as a lot of siblings do, and her older 2 are doing that right now. And I try and remind them every couple of days when they do that. I'm like, you might carry his babies one day, and they're like, no, that's gross. Well, we can't do that. But just to break the tension. But yeah, for the family dynamic, you just feel immense gratitude and just giving us that opportunity, because it wouldn't be safe for my wife to carry according to her doctors in the States. So this was really the only viable option, and thankfully, like I say, she had offered before we even thought to ask. So yeah, it's awesome.
Well, I think what people would want to know, Rebecca, is that what's it like giving birth to a baby that's not yours and then watching somebody else parent that baby?
It's been amazing watching them, and it's a little bit tricky because they were here for the first sort of 5-6 months of Vera's life, so we got to see those very early days. But then you obviously only see snapshots with them living overseas, so you see like little videos of photos here and there, and you talk to them on FaceTime and that sort of thing, so you catch up on bits that way. But you're a little bit removed obviously as well. But then with going over a couple of times last year, you get to see how hands-on they are with her and how involved, and it's really cool to see. And them just getting to be parents. But
everybody parents differently.
Absolutely, yep.
And do you have the urge of like, they're not doing it my way?
No, I don't.
Don't have any sense of ownership?
No, I don't. And it was quite nice the couple of times I did go over last year. It was almost refreshing in a way that I could see Vera, and it was almost sort of like a good test in a way. I was like, do I want her to be mine? And I'd be like, no, I don't. I love her to pieces, don't get me wrong. But I can look at her and go, she's not my child, she's my niece. And I had no, like if they ask for advice on certain things, I'll give them advice. But I'd always preface it by saying, but she's your child, you need to choose the way you want to parent. Because that could be quite different to the way my husband and I have chosen to parent.
She told us within like the first couple of days of Vera's life that, hey, I'm really, really glad I don't actually have any maternal pull. Like that was something that I thought could happen. I was worried it might happen. It didn't. So that's super helpful emotionally.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's been a great auntie, and Vera loves seeing her and playing with her kids. And her kids are that bit older. They sort of get told what to do by Vera, and they'll sort of follow along. And as you saw, one was in the pantry with her before.
Yeah.
So they're good. They're good. So it's a good relationship.
So is it a typical auntie-niece relationship?
I'd say
I think so. Yeah. From what I see and experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The second time you're going through the process, Tim, before you had to be vetted by Oranga Tamariki to make sure that you were suitable to have a surrogate.
Yep, yeah, that's right.
A child. Did you have to go through that process again?
Yeah, so pretty similar process. We're actually working with the same caseworker, and so she sort of had all our background already, so not quite as many interviews and forms, but still all the forms they need for their file.
So they still had to check you out even though you'd been through the process once before?
Yeah, we had to get our police checks from the States again, and health checks and all those different scans. It's all, as I'm sure you're aware, it's all the same documentation for if you were doing a private adoption. So you're having to prove that you're a viable candidate even though it's your own child.
So they're finally looking at changing the law. So if you have a baby by surrogate, you don't have to adopt your own child. What do you think about that?
I think it's great progress. It makes sense. I know I guess the main problem was that there was no specific surrogate law before, so it was just, it's an adoption, you're seen as an adoption, so that's why you have all this paperwork. So it wasn't like a personal attack because of that, but I think it makes a lot of sense. If you're the biological parents, or you're partially the biological parents, however you've come around to making your embryos and your surrogates carried them for you, and that's your agreement prior to the fact, I think it's great that you shouldn't have to adopt your own child.
They're also looking at setting up a register, so where an intending parent like yourself and there is a surrogate who's willing to be a surrogate can be matched. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, I would say it's a fantastic idea. We, when we found that we weren't able to carry children ourselves, we ran into a lot of other new friends that had similar situations where they'd lost pregnancies, lost babies, and they really had no options for surrogates, because in the States you pay surrogates quite a hefty fee. So if there is a registry of people really willing to carry a baby for you, and it could help prospective parents have their own biological child, I think it's a great idea, yeah.
And also the cost. I mean, did you guys have to come up with a financial arrangement between the two of you, or because your family that wasn't an issue?
No, it wasn't an issue. And I don't know if it's law in New Zealand, but I think it's meant to be an altruistic
Yeah, you can only claim reasonable costs, like lost wages and things like that, but you can't claim a fee.
Yeah, no. so some bagels here and there, and reimbursing you for any scan fees that we didn't know cost money, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's been good.
Okay.
Yep.
Nothing else. There's no ongoing commitment.
No, not that I've been made aware of yet. So
you think
after the baby's in our arms,
tomorrow,
it might be surprise. Here's your bill. Can't really.
I don't think that's allowed, Rebecca.
She might want naming rights maybe as well. So.
Naming rights, okay. Tim, you've been through this twice, and so have you, Rebecca, almost.
Just about.
Are there any other changes that you think should happen in the New Zealand context?
If they're removing the adoption requirement, I assume that'll take away any of the legal side that we have to deal with after the baby's born. I assume there'll be some requirement for surrogacy agreements, like to be signed and notarized in advance, because that's one thing that we didn't realize, the amount of paperwork even in the States prior to her being able to be our surrogate, there's a lot of psych evaluations to make sure you're not going to want to steal a baby, kind of, but then also just making sure that you understand the whole process and what that may do to you mentally and emotionally, and that. So I still feel like there should. I don't know what the New Zealand plan is, but there should still be some sort of requirements around contractual agreements, I guess, with your surrogate to make sure everyone's aware of
like an official surrogacy order.
Yeah, exactly. And
the emotional toll of surrogacy. I mean, do you think people are aware what it could take? I mean, you guys are a particular special case because of your bond as family, but if you didn't have the family connection, would it be a very hard road emotionally, do you think, Rebecca?
I think so. I'm not sure I'd do it for someone who wasn't family, because of the emotional toll. It's a lot to go through emotionally, but I'm not sure there's anyone I would do it for otherwise. But there's lots of people who do it for someone who's a complete stranger to them.
Yeah. Okay. So you're almost at the end of the road. Second baby. Can you believe that this has happened again?
It's slightly surreal in a way that it's happening again. But it's cool, and I'm glad it is. And but yeah, it's going to be weird. It's closing a chapter. I'm well and truly done having babies now.
Right. It has happened again. We've heard news overnight that Rebecca delivered a baby boy for Tim and Ashlyn yesterday. Here he is on his TV debut, unnamed as yet, but congratulations to them all.
Ah, yes, very, very cute.